Morning, 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 Joe Bells and Whistles. God bless you this morning. God bless you on this fabulous Friday. And not only is it fabulous, it's finally Friday. And what we going to do? We're going to thank God that it's Friday. In the midst of all that's going on, we're going to still give God some glory. And we're going to give him some joy. Why? Because we're here. Oh, he gave us a kiss of life this morning. And I'm hoping that your morning was great. I hope that you didn't let nothing that distracted you all week long to not at least give you this day to wake up and be joyous. Oh, I know that we might go to bed sometime a little disgruntled and angry, but before we go off to sleep, we got to spend a little time asking God to clean our hearts. So when we wake up in the morning, we will be able to wake up and experience the joy. Oh, I'm so excited. It's been a rough week. The enemy was trying to shut me down on Wednesday. Y'all know I was here, 3 minutes on Wednesday? Not a little under 4 minutes, because I couldn't figure out how to get this here machine working. And he was just trying to stop me. And I'm going to tell you why I believe that he was trying to stop me, if you don't mind. It's because he know I was finna get on his helmet. I was finna get on his line. Because we was finna talk about the misery. Oh, we know that's our brother, the devil. The devil, his name is Satan. He is our brother. In case you don't know the story, he was one of the finest angels in heaven. And then he got beside himself and he got big-headed, like some of our own children do. They get beside themselves. They get growner than we are, and we the one had them. But nevertheless, he just thought he can be better than the God. And so he had to do away with him. How many of us done threw away our own children because they just didn't want to be obedient in mind? And we just can't have you thinking that you're the parent here, huh? So in despite of, that's still our brother. In the midst of all that we're going through. Yes, we don't like him. We don't like nothing about him. We hate him. We hate everything about him because he's evil. He's miserable. And that's what we're going to talk about today, how the misery loves company, which is what we were going to talk a little bit about on Wednesday before he realized. I think he sneaked in and saw my notes. That's why I don't write them, because see, he have a tendency. See, I was talking to the Lord in my prayer language, so he didn't know what I was going to be talking about. But when I wrote it on this piece of paper, I think he snuck in and he was able to see I was going to be talking about him. And so he cut the line. You know how people, he's a hater too in the midst of it all. But nevertheless, we was going to talk a little bit about how misery loves company and how we have got to stop sitting ourselves around the miserable and the misery that comes with miserable people. Now, I know we got love for people. I know we got love for our family. We got love for our friends. We got love for these people. But let me tell you something. If we identify with these people being miserable and you don't stop and inquire and ask them what's going on with them, two things. One of them, you really don't care. And the second one, you're not paying attention. So either you notice that there's something that's going on and you don't care, or you're not paying attention. And both of them is bad when you in the company of somebody that you say you love. We got to stop sweeping things under the rug and going home telling somebody else that so-and-so is crazy and so-and-so is miserable and so-and-so is this and that, and we're not doing anything to help them. Because why? Because we become the company. Misery loves company. How many of us have become company to miserable people? How many of us have been the company to the misery? It's enough to know that we're miserable on our own. It's enough to know that sometimes things can cause miserableness inside of us. How many of us suffer with stomach aches sometimes? I ain't even gonna talk about headaches. We're gonna talk about a stomach ache. People gonna get so embedded with a stomach ache to where they just miserable. Or how many of us eat so much to where you're miserable, you're full, you need to let some stuff out? Well, we need to let the miserable people out of our lives, honey, when they come in. When you identify with somebody being miserable, or when you identify with somebody that just can't seem to find no happiness, they sure ain't finding no joy if they can't find no happiness, huh? Those are the people, unfortunately, that we're going to have to detach ourselves from in order for us to have the joy of the Lord in our lives. And if we stop entertaining the miserable people that we run across because we love them and they our sister and they our brother and our kids and our daddies and our mamas and all that, if you find that they miserable, I need for you to take some time and find the root of why they're miserable. Because like Mondays, not all wounds are visible. A lot of people are miserable because of things that happened to them umpteen years ago. And they still living in it today in that miserable place. And then they bringing people along with them. Oh, they just taking folks along with them. Excuse me, you guys. They just taking folks right along with them. Ooh. Ooh, they taking people right along with them. And then now we got a whole bunch of miserable people. Now, if you just happen to be happy and in a good place, and you got a friend or somebody that you love, that you socialize with and hang out with, now we're going to have to be clear. Nobody likes a conversation that appears to be medicine. Nobody likes a conversation that seems to be bringing some healing. Nobody likes a conversation that's going to change the dynamics of how they feel. They don't like that. Some people look at you like you're crazy when you bring medicine to them. Medicine is just a conversation that's going to deter them from whatever it is that's causing them to be miserable, whatever's causing them to be negative, whatever's causing them to always be grumbled and complaining. Something is wrong somewhere. Something is wrong somewhere. And if you just happen to notice that you're never in a good place, you always can't seem to find comfortability in this life, then I'm going to need for you to take some time and find out what it is that's creating a problem that's causing you to walk around in misery and to always be in a miserable place. We got to do better. We got to do better, my loves. My joy bells and whistles, we got to do better when it comes to that. Because we are not our circumstances. There's a lot of things that's going on in the world right now, but it ain't got nothing to do with us. What we have to learn how to do is work around whatever it is, but whatever it is, don't allow us to get miserable while we're doing it. Because then when we murmur and complain, we take it to the next place, and then here they is sitting there listening. But when you try to stop them, and tell them, you know what, girl, well, why don't you figure out something else? Or man, why don't you try to do something else? Now you got out of a whole nother situation because now you're dealing with somebody that you didn't bother to get their response. I tell people all the time, if you want to hear what you want to hear when you're talking to me, then I need for you to give me a script. And I'll repeat what you want to hear. But when you're talking to me about anything and you expecting a response, it's going to be what's inside of me. And most of the time, they don't want to hear it. They do not want to hear something that's going against anything that's going to take them out of their misery. Some people just like to be miserable. Some people just like to be miserable. They like to complain. They never see the light at the end of the tunnel. They just don't. But do we spend our time with them? We're never going to help a miserable person come outside of that miserable place until we speak on it. And some of us need to be willing to let somebody go to save them. We holding on to people that we know need help. Why? Because we got these issues in life that we just don't know how to let go. We need to stay woke, people. We need to stay woke. We need to stay woke to some things that can change the atmosphere. If half the people that you deal with, you walk in a room full of life. I do it often. I love life. I love to love. I love living. I enjoy it. When I walk into a room, I expect for everybody, that's my expectation, is for everybody else to be excited about being in the room. That means you got up, you got dressed, you came out, and you're in the midst of a crowd with others, and you should be excited to be seen or just to see somebody or just to be in the atmosphere. But people will come with their miserable tales to places and just talk the environment. And sometimes, as strong as my personality is, I got to bag up out of that thing because there's too much negativity. And the reason why we get all mustard inside and all angry and we can go to a girl's day or a guy's day and we go home and tell our spouses what was going on because there was somebody there that was miserable and created the whole problem. Misery loves company. Misery loves company. When are we going to stop being the company to all the misery that's going on? We don't have to entertain it. It's almost like all this foolishness that's going on about the coronavirus and the shot. Do you know how many people have become miserable? People are not speaking. Families are fighting because somebody don't want the shot, or somebody do want the shot, and somebody saying don't take the shot. And that's just a bunch of miserable people who is trying to be controlling and tell somebody else what they need to do with their life. Let me tell you something. Your life is your choice. And the consequences that you embark upon behind your choice, that's on you. Ain't nobody else got to deal with it. If somebody get a corona shot and leave here, then that was them. If you got a corona shot and still here, that's you. We need to be mindful and be concerned about what's going on with us. People are miserable. Families are feuding right now. Families are feuding because somebody wants something and the other member don't want it. We're talking about misery-loving company here. Some people like to argue. Some people like to fight. Some people just want to be miserable. Well, I'm not miserable. Now, I have experienced misery when I'm done something that's causing me to be a little achy and stuff. Miserable because of the fact that I might be dealing with something that I put upon myself.